The water is continuing to rise as there is going to be rain throughout the day. Yes, Sherry and Siobhan, I am here outside of the East Lansing Hanna Community Center, where people are invited to drop in and share their experiences and how they were impacted in the June and July storms. Black bears are the only bears found in Michigan, and they don't pose a safety risk as they fear humans. The boat was also structurally damaged and now sits outside of the Grand River waiting to be inspected by the insurance company. It's important to note you should never leave your child in the car, no matter the temperature. The alleged assault occurred at 9 p.m. outside the MSU Union on the sidewalk to the west of the building. This afternoon, Kevin Guskowicz was formally installed as MSU's 22nd president, but the ceremony was interrupted by protesters. The formal investiture was for Guskowicz to lay out his plan for the future of the university. But right outside, the Haria Coalition demands a different plan: divestment and institutional support for ending genocide.
We're out here to protest, to let him know that we're not happy with him, we're not happy with his board, we're not happy with what he's been doing with the college.
Dozens of students from the Haria Coalition picketed outside of the event, in front of the building, in the parking garage, and in the entryway. They're asking the university and the new president to stop investments into the state of Israel. And they say after months of asking, it isn't happening.
Right. They're handing over power to a man who's not moving on divestment.
They not only want them to divest, they want them to disclose.
They say on their investment website that they'll disclose every year. The last disclosure was June 30th, 2023. And I want to make it clear, he's not the sole decision maker here. In fact, the decision has to come from the Board of Trustees, but he can do a lot in terms of supporting divestment. And he chooses not to.
While Guskowicz addressed the audience, protesters went inside the ceremony, causing the program to be temporarily paused. And law enforcement were asked to assist.
Kevin Guskowicz is picking a side, and it's clear which side he's on. It's clear.
At the investiture today, Guskowicz laid out his plans and highlighted several initiatives focusing on student-centered campus, inclusivity, accessibility, and global impact. It was an emotional day in court as the family of Winter Cole Smith expressed the pain of losing her in such a horrific way. Her grandfather, Elmont Smith, fought back tears while reading a victim impact statement on behalf of himself and his son, Winter's father.
So many things to say. The big question is why? Why was my baby, Winter, my little angel, used as collateral?
A grandfather's pain on full display in court. Just one of the victim impact statements read today. The Assistant Attorney General read one from Winter's grandmother.
I could not bear to be there in person. I can't bear to see his face without reliving that tragic date of such horror.
That day was July 2nd, 2023, when Rashad Trice violently assaulted Winter's mother at her home in Lansing before stealing her vehicle and kidnapping Winter. Hours later, he was found and arrested near Detroit. But when officers searched the car, there was no sign of Winter. 3 days later, her body was found, dumped in a Detroit alley. Trice later admitted to taking Winter and strangling her with a pink cell phone cord.
This act of pure evilness Rashad has committed is irreversible in its actions and cannot be forgiven.
Ingham County Public Defender Keith Watson said Trice decided to plead guilty against his advice.
I don't know what speaks more loudly about remorse than an independent desire to offer his plea of guilt to a mandatory life sentence.
The prosecution says although there is accountability, Trice lacks remorse.
There's very little emotion or acceptance of what the grievous actions of this man and what he's done to so many people's lives. And so
Trice, who appeared in court over Zoom from Newaygo County, was asked if he wanted to make a statement before the judge handed out his sentence. He replied, no.
I don't hate you, but I hate what you've done. As again, you took somebody special from me, my only grandchild.
Trice is still facing federal charges and will be back in court later this month. Federal prosecutors said they will not seek the death penalty. On Monday, the Michigan Princess was pulled from the Grand River for a dry dock inspection, a process the owner says occurs every 5 to 6 years. But this time, the boat never made it back in the water. After 20 hours of work on Thursday, the Michigan Princess was almost back in the water when disaster struck. One of the airbags used to lift the boat suddenly blew out.
It was quite loud. It sounded like a bomb went off inside the boat.
This is Matt Christie, the maintenance man. He was the only one inside the boat when it happened.
I was inside the boat and it kind of went flying right along with everything inside of the boat. It was quite the mess.
The airbag is an extra large tube placed under boats to assist with launching, docking, or lifting.
We believe it overpressurized and popped.
This is Chris Chamberlain, the owner of the Michigan Princess.
That force was directed up into the boat and damaged the boat.
Well, every table and hatch flew up in the air. All the chairs flew up. A whole bunch of glass exploded. All the chandeliers fell and broke.
All but 2 chandeliers fell, which were original from when the boat was built in 1991.
When that happened, we pulled the boat right back out of the water.
The boat was also structurally damaged and now sits outside of the Grand River waiting to be inspected by the insurance company.
We've got a preliminary plan of how to repair and replace that, but it's going to be time consuming.
Because of this, he said they will have to shut down for at least a month.
We were fully booked. Every day we were cruising, sometimes 2 times a day. I don't think we're going to be running anytime soon.
He said if you have tickets or an event scheduled during this time, they would contact you for refunds or to reschedule.
Our office is constantly taking phone calls and canceling and rescheduling events.
Chamberlain said that there was a wedding planned for next week that had to be refunded. In the meantime, they remain optimistic that the Michigan Princess Riverboat will be up and running for their most popular Fall Colors tour. On May 18th, 1927, an explosion ripped through the Bath School building, killing 43 people and injuring at least 58.
My father was 9 years old in the 4th grade, and he was buried alive. He had a broken foot and a broken ankle. His hair was burned, his face was burned, his eyebrows and his eyelashes, and he had cuts all over.
Sue Hagerman says after the explosion, nobody talked about what happened.
They just they cleaned up the mess, they took care of their dead.
38 dead students.
And they just went on with their lives.
Nearly 100 years after the disaster, a new documentary series is reminding people of what happened.
We went through great effort to recreate these scenes with Model Ts and children dressed up from the period.
After 19 years of interviews, research, and filming, Matt Martin and his team at Optic Productions wrapped up the 3-part documentary series.
These people serve as great examples of how the most horrific things can be overcome. And that's why Bath exists today. It's thriving.
Martin says with school massacres becoming more common, this story is especially relevant to today's discussion.
The documentary is actually going to be a fundraiser for our new museum building that we're going to build.
The museum, based in the middle school, currently features photos, memorials, the American flag that hung over the building, and more. And the new one will also be able to hold the cupola that survived the explosion.
We want to keep it remembered because it's part of our history. It's who we are.
Tonight's screening will begin at 7 p.m. in the Bath School Auditorium. Proceeds will go towards a new museum building, which is planned to open by 2027 on the 100th year anniversary of the disaster. Back to you.